Well, hello everybody. This is Stanger Brook again here in Puerto Vallarta with another video fishing report. I'm sorry for being a little lax on these. It seems like I just finished one and I'm making another one, and actually it's kind of like weeks in between. Things have pretty much stayed the same here until recently. What we've been seeing here is a lot of hurricanes go by. Now, excuse me. Hurricanes are pretty much a normal thing around here. Most of the time they're hundreds of miles out. They'll start down around Manzanillo, Acapulco, maybe a little farther south of that, usually around 100 miles or so out there, and next thing you know they're 600 miles out and they're moving past you and don't really affect you much. But what they wind up doing is kind of messing with things like currents and pushing fish in, they push fish out. Luckily this year they've been pushing a lot of fish in our direction. We're pretty happy with that. And that's that. So, don't be nervous about hurricanes, weather situations, things like this. At this time of year, we normally set into a pattern. Lately it's been around 10 o'clock at night. It rains for an hour or two, maybe a little bit more. By the time you wake up in the morning, everything's dried out and the humidity is relatively low, which is very nice. The water temperatures have been hanging actually very low for this time of the year. Normally around right now we're looking at 88, 89, maybe closer to 90 degrees as we come into mid-August, which has not been happening. It's a perfect 84 degrees out there. Now I'm not going to complain about that, but this is not normal. This is a La Nina year, and again, this is one of the things that happen in a La Nina year. So I guess we're kind of stuck with that. Nothing new, nothing about global warming, none of that stuff. Okay. As far as fishing goes right now, what we're seeing is, pretty much everything's open from Corbatania to El Banco. A lot of people seem to ignore what I call midpoint. That's the point right in between the two. There's a big ridge out there. And, to be honest with you, most tournament winning fish are coming out of this area. And I don't know why people don't go there. People talk about Corbatania, people talk about El Banco, which is the bank, but they never talk about midterm. Another thing to think about is when you're down here and you're going fishing, the cost of fuel these days is a real bitch for these guys. They're spending about $5 a gallon. It's been like that for about a year now, and they're pretty much pricing themselves here in the Puerto Vallarta market to the point where they just can't charge anymore. And as a result of that, when you talk to these guys about booking a boat, I don't care who you're talking to, you're talking about specific areas. And you have to ask yourself, okay, well, how far out of that area, if there are fish, will they go? And that's the big question, because they could be a mile outside of the area they won't go. They could be 10 miles outside the area and they won't go. And a lot of times, fish are not where you expect them to be. You just can't go out to Corbatania and say, okay, I'm in the right place, where are the fish? They're moving 10, 15 miles around the place. You got to have fuel in your boat. You got to have the flexibility to be able to move around. Now, I understand if you're traveling around on a budget and you're going out there and stuff like that, maybe the bay would be better for you. It's a smaller place to run around and you don't need as many hours. But once you're out there and you're doing some world-class deep-sea fishing out there, you got to have fuel in the boat. You got to go to where the fish are. There's nothing worse than listening to the radio, especially if you understand Spanish, and hearing there's a captain 10 miles down the road and he's turning up on Dorado. There's sailfish out there, there's marlin, there's tuna, you name it. And that's just too far away, and your captain's not going to say anything to you about it because he doesn't want to raise any shit, right? He doesn't want to have to ask you for more money, and he just won't tell you. Now, that's what you're getting on your standard basic fishing trip. Now, that's just what you're going to get. That's just how it works. That's fishing in Puerto Vallarta. Right? These guys are not losing money. So what's your answer? Well, if you go with a guy like me, and we go out there and there's fish over someplace like that, I will lose money to make sure you catch fish just trying to build a long-term client. I really will, right? I'm not losing that much money. And we'll go out there and we'll do that. Other boats, they won't do that. They won't tell you about it, and that's that. Now, if you're out there at Corbatania and you're, say, 15 miles off the rock there, and that's the island of Corbatania, and it's only going to be another 10, 15, maybe 20 miles to get to where you've got big black marlin, 600-800 pound black marlin. You got 600-pound blue marlin. You might even have, some monster yellowfin tuna out there. And you're not going to go that extra 10 miles because the guy doesn't have enough fuel in his tank. I mean, that's bullshit. You don't build a fishing business on that. And that's one of the big reasons we're one of the few fishing companies down here. Now, of course, if you want to go out there and say, hey, listen, no holds barred, you want to throw an extra $100 in there for fuel, which isn't that much money. That makes all the difference in the world. So this video could be a little bit long right now, but the inside track is you can go out there, you can fish on a budget, you can run around the areas, and we'll tell you kind of what's going on there. We'll tell you what's going on there, and we'll make sure you have realistic expectations. But if you come in the door and I say, hey, listen, you want to throw an extra $100 in the fuel, that sounds like a bait and switch, and that's not good. It's not good at all. So we don't do that. We don't want to cause problems, but just know the inside stuff. That's how you catch fish. Now, let's get to the fishing. Carpetania right now, they got sailfish out there. They have smaller Dorado, and a lot of them smaller. They're running 10, 15, maybe 25 pounds. You'll catch 3 small ones before you get a bigger one. We got some blue marlin. We saw a 550-pound blue marlin boated out there the other day. Haven't seen too many black marlin, just a few. Striped marlin, even at 84 degrees, which is cool for us this time of year. We're still seeing striped marlin out there as well at Carpetania. And of course, if you want to do some jigging, there's always a Kubera snapper out there as well. Who knows, might even find some amberjack. So fishing out there at Carpetania is worth it. Yellowfin tuna, been in and out. They're running anywhere 30 to 60 pounds. But, with funny currents and the bait situation the way it is, things moving in and out, they can have tuna anywhere from 30 to 200 pounds on any given day. We don't see the big schools we used to have anymore, and fish are moving. So that's one thing about this area. There's no concentration of bait in any one area. Fish are moving around. That's one of the big reasons you have fuel in your boat. You got to be able to go find them. Midpoint out there, I'm just telling you about. They've been seeing the same thing out there. And of course, at the bank, they saw a big blue marlin out there. A little closer in from the bank, they're seeing sailfish, still some striped marlin. Dorado, if you find any kind of floating trash or logs or anything like that, you'll find Dorado out there, and it could be a lot. Again, they could be smaller, they could be bigger, you never know. With rainy season like this, we have the trash line out there, which is the thin band of leaves and twigs and things like that, which fish love to feed on. Now behind that, it's going to be real dirty water, and that can be a few feet, it can be 6 feet deep. You never know, especially because you're that's fresh water coming out. Now, of course, where the fresh water and the salt water mix, a lot of fish like that, rooster fish like that, chinook like that, Jack Crevalle's like that a lot. So if you're in near a river, that's pretty good for fresh water. But if you can get out to a mature trash line, like out there at Punta Ramita, for instance, well, then you hit a gold mine out there. You find a log or dead floating horse or God, who knows. I mean, I've seen dead refrigerators out there, dead refrigerators. Anything out there will be a Dorado gold mine. And of course, if you find some buoys out there, sometimes guys make these buoys hoping to, draw some fish in. You hit a gold mine out there, that would be an 8-hour trip. And real interesting right now, an 8-hour trip sometimes is not as good as a 6-hour trip inside the bay. You see, we got a big channel that comes in from Carpetania, that area, and currents will run right down that ridge. And the bait follow it. Next thing you know, you got Dorado following it, you got sailfish following it, you got striped marlin, and sometimes in a freak situation, you'll see a blue marlin out there in the bay. And right now, I would say if you're going after sailfish and Dorado, it's about a 50-50 chase inside the bay or outside the bay. Give yourself 8 hours so you can get around the bay a little bit more, down by Cabo Corrientes, maybe see some rooster fish down that way. 8 hours doesn't have to be outside the bay. And to be frank, with the hurricanes that we've been having pass us out here, the weather pattern's been kind of mixing up a little bit. So some days we have wind coming in from the east is offshore, and that'll make the waves a little choppy out there in the morning and sometimes all day. With the hurricanes out there, normally we don't have bad swell issues, but you can have them out there, 4 feet, big intervals. They're usually kind of soft and kind of rolly, it's not too bad. But if you're a seasick type, that'll make your day, huh? So, but that's kind of like what we've been having out there. As far as hurricanes and things like that go, you don't really have to worry about them. We have plenty of warnings, and of course, once the swells hit 6 feet, they close the bay, and our insurance doesn't cover us on anything if you go outside of the marina. So that's what happens with hurricanes. Normally, if something happens, we can schedule a day or two in advance or move it around, or we just give you a flat refund. It's no big deal. We don't take a fortune for a deposit, so we don't have to give back a fortune. And that's a good way to go. Yes, me. So that's my way. Inside the bay, we're like I said, you see some sailfish, you see some broadum out there down by Los Arcos. Around the river mouths, the water's normally pretty dirty. A lot of fresh trash lines out there. We've been seeing a lot of seasonal rain around here, which is absolutely great for us. And the weather's been very nice as far as this time of year goes. So La Nina again. So that's pretty much everything in a nutshell. We're seeing 6-inch flying fish in the bay. We got a lot of skipjack tuna. Those are tuna that look just like big tuna, except they usually don't get over 10, 12 pounds. Good tasting if you catch them, don't be afraid to eat them. I eat them all the time. It's tuna. It's tuna. So I eat them all the time. A lot of different baits in the area. Listen, we put a bunch of bait on the boat every morning, and that's always good stuff. But if you're someplace and you got a specific bait running around the area, it's always best to go out there and make bait locally and start fish with a local bait, and you always have more luck. So just keep that in mind, and don't get upset if the guys in the boat stop and start throwing bait nets in the water and things like that. They're fishing, right? And having said that, Puerto Vallarta, we're still doing very good. In Puerto Vallarta and Jalisco, you do not need to wear masks for COVID. If you're in Nuevo Vallarta, which is just 5, 6, 8 miles here north of us, you have to wear a mask everywhere. I don't understand the mask thing, but we won't go into that. I definitely don't agree with it. Yeah, let me see. I'm trying to see if anything else on here. Like I'm putting down, let me see, Midpoint, talked about that. And the Tres Maria Islands. I don't know if you know about the Tres Maria Islands. They're big popular with a bunch of guys up there out of Southern California. And they're pretty famous. It's fishery. It's a breeding ground for fish. And, thank God the area's got a whole lot of rocks and things like that, because the seiners and production ships can't get in there. Otherwise, they would have raped this area long ago. Another thing about the Tres Maria Islands is considered kind of like one of these world sites where they're super sensitive about it. I would say they're right up there along the lines of Galapagos Islands, that you can't get any more sensitive than the Galapagos Islands. The places out there in the Tres Maria Islands where they have the species of corals, species of fish, a lot of unique stuff about that area out there, and that's why you can't really mess with it. A lot of people thought it was because the prison was there, but the prison moved and the rules didn't change. You still can't go within 12 miles of the island legally. Now, if you want to come down and catch fish around there, that's fine and dandy as long as you're playing by the rules. If you're not playing by the rules, they got the Marina, which is basically, it stands for the Mexican Navy, right? And they come out there and they'll warn you, and you can go out there and run around and spin around the islands and try to play, games with the radar. But that'll just make them mad. You don't want to do that. So all you guys coming down in the winter months, because Southern California is dead with business, and these guys are coming down here trying to make a living off our local tuna. The winter months is not the time of year to be down here. A lot of times you can go out there January, February, March. You got a 50-50 shot at catching fish. You're out there for 3 days, you're going to catch 1 or 2 or maybe 3. But you need to be aware that you're coming down in our off season, their off season, and they're just trying to make ends meet. I don't blame them, but the fact of the matter is, you want to come down, you want to go out there, you want to catch a 200, 300, 400 pound tuna. I think the record's around 425. You got to be down here in the warm water months. Right now out there, the Tres Maria Islands is about 100 miles. It depends on which island you're going to. Figure 150 miles north of us here in Puerto Vallarta. And the yellowfin up there are anywhere from 250 to 350 right now. There's plenty of bait. And I'm getting my boat together again. I've got a 65-foot lures. It's $9,800, 2.5-day trip for 6 people. It's a beautiful thing. But if you want to come down, you're going to catch yellowfin tuna, now's the time you need to be thinking about it. We've got some cheaper trips out there. We can put you on some smaller boats. And, but you got to figure around $5,000 for a 4-guy trip for 2.5 days, which, you know, in my book isn't too expensive, especially if you're splitting costs. So the weather's great. Puerto Vallarta is safe. Tourism is going fine. COVID is not an issue. Not yet, or not again anyway. And I guess that's about it for now. Sorry for the long video, but we want to put a lot of information in there. A lot of people are asking a lot of these things. We're going to start focusing on the tours again on site. I got a friend. We're going to start doing stuff online. You know, no reason why you can't book the tours with us. We'll save you some money, and you can just handle it all with one person. You don't have to worry about being screwed around with. That's why we say, masturbators, we won't jerk you around, right? So for now, that's it. That's about it. It's probably more than enough for you right now. And you know, good luck. Stay safe. And for now, this is Stan in Puerto Vallarta saying, don't forget to kiss your fish. And well, hasta luego until next one. Be good. Yeehaw.
¿Has pescado usted de esos? ¿No? Ok, mira, cuando ya esté el pescado cerquita, que ya lo tengamos aquí, tú le vas a quitar aquí, mira. ¿Para qué? Para que se haga, para que no se vaya a quebrar la línea. No relajas. ¿Qué ocupas, galleta? Todo bien, güey.
Marlin?
No, esa Marlin.
Marlin?
Esa Marlin.
It's fine, yeah.
Ok, no. Marlin. Ahí la presión. Sí, está bien, güey.
Nice.